Oh, what is up, Straight Talk Society? This is your host, Trevor, and I'm back with another episode of Five Count. Normally, this is my top five takeaways from SmackDown or Monday Night Raw, but I'm coming to you with something different today. Hey, shout out to everybody who watched my top five WrestleManias of all time. I think right now it's at over 1,200 views. Hey, man, I really, really appreciate that. It seems like you guys are liking these little offshoot ones more than you are the five takeaways from the regular shows, but nevertheless, I love doing them. Tonight's episode is going to be pretty divisive. Just so everybody knows, when I do these five counts, they are what I think. I'm not polling anybody or anything like this. This is my five top takeaways from any given show or topic that I'm talking about. I do have almost 40 years watching wrestling, so I have a lot compiled. I've seen everything. There's a lot of history up in my head. So when I give these lists, I'm just not shooting from the hip. I am thinking of a lot of history. And there is where we are on that. But tonight is probably going to be a divisive one because tonight I am giving the list of my top five world heavyweight champions of all time. But here's the caveat: black world heavyweight champions of all times. It hasn't been too much of us, but for the ones there that it has been, I am going to give my list of my top five of all time. And this is almost 40 years of watching wrestling. So I'm going to give you my list, and you want to dispute it, go ahead and get at me with the comments about it. And and hey, we'll just let it do what it does. But first off, to start the list off, I do have two honorable mentions. So let's get to the honorable mentions. The first honorable mention is R-Truth, Ron the Truth Killings. He was a two-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion, and his two combined reigns last for 119 days. So you say, "Oh man, Trevor, that was great. Why didn't you have Ron Killings on the list?" He had two reigns totaling 119 days, and his title run wasn't really that great. And I know later Tyrus won the NWA title, but again, that's when the NWA title meant like winning the NXT title. So it is what it is. Speaking of NXT, the jump off reason for me doing this list was because Trick Williams winning the NXT title this past week, and Swerve Strickland winning the AEW title the weekend before. So my first honorable mention is Ron the Truth Killings. Second honorable mention goes to the man Kofi Kingston. Hey, I was a huge fan of Kofi Mania. When Kofi Mania took over WrestleMania 35, it was the best moment at that WrestleMania. Check out my WrestleMania show. You heard what I said about WrestleManias. For the most part, they sucked. And that one sucked. It was like a 7-hour show, 7-hour snooze fest. But this was one of the bright spots of it. Kofi Kingston, after being in the company for so long, capturing the big one, the WWE title, in a great match against Daniel Bryan. You had the chills. The story leading up to it was fantastic. Playing into the race card. Hey, maybe we'll just leave because we'll never get a shot here. It was great. But the problem with this title reign is it was accidental. Everybody knew this was supposed to be Mustafa Ali's spot. He got hurt. Kofi Kingston got shoveled in there. The fans got behind him. And hey, plans subject to change. But here's the deal. I love Kofi Kingston, so I'm not crapping on Kofi Kingston, but his title reign was nothing to write home about. He continued to bring pancakes to the ring. He's continued to dance and shuck and jive. Nothing. The being champion never made him serious. No matter what angle they put him in, he still laughed and joked. So I couldn't take him serious as champion. And I saw him live when he was champion at SmackDown when they came to my town. There's videos of me and my daughter going crazy when he came out. So it's not that I don't like him. his title reign was not worthy enough of putting him on this list, but he does get honorable mention for having one of the greatest storylines in WWE history, and his run to the title was great, but then he ended up losing to Brock Lesnar in like 20 seconds, and he never regained it. He never got serious again, still laughing and dancing to the ring. Hey, that's why I really can't take Kofi Kingston serious. So let's get to our top 5 list. At number 5, and now we're talking about my greatest black world champions of all time. And the person that holds that number 5 spot is none other than Bobby Lashley. Oh my goodness, what can I say about Bobby Lashley that hasn't already been said? Tremendous collegiate athlete. He spanned the globe, former MMA star, Impact champion, WWE champion. I mean, this man has done it all, and this man is serious. When this man comes out with that title, you knew that that was your champion. Like, he had the look of the champion that you wanted. There was no laughing. There was no playing. He was serious. He always meant business. He never cowered down to anybody. He always brought the fight to you. Bobby Lashley is just tremendous. And even in his late 40s, now he's better than ever, and the fans love him. Bobby Lashley is my number 5 black world champion of all time. And let's just look at some of his accolades. He was former ECW, 2-time ECW heavyweight champion, totaling 155 days. TNA King of the Mountain champion 1 day. I don't even know what that is. TNA World Champion 4 times, totaling 403 days. He was 2-time WWE Champion, totaling 217 days. He's an Intercontinental Champion 2 times, a 61 days total reign. And he was a former 3-time United States Champion, totaling 324 days. Bobby Lashley is my number 5 top black world champion of all time. Number 4, this is going to be the most controversial pick on the list. This is where I'm going to get the most heat, and I get it because I'm gladly accepting it. And all I say is just bring it on. But if we're going to look at world champions, and you only got a handful of them. And when I talk about world champions, I mean who has been booked serious, who has a great win-loss record, who has been, who can you put out in front of the fans and they're like, hey, this is my champion. We're not taking this person as a joke. This is my champion. They can go do all the media, longevity of the reigns. And my number 4 goes to none other than Bianca Belair. I could just hear the collective groan right now. Like, oh my God, what the hell did you just do? You went and ruined this list. Hey, listen, outside of Charlotte Flair, there is not a woman wrestler on the planet Earth that's better than Bianca Belair right now. She is what you build your company around. And that is more proven by the fact that they took her as the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Consistently, she's been there, constantly putting on great matches, undefeated at WrestleMania, brought prestige to the women's titles, whereas you have other women just bantering it around and it's just not like, oh God, they're not wrestling, they're not defending the title. She was defending her title at every pay-per-view, putting on stellar matches. This woman also is someone that kids can actually look up to and say, hey, this is my champion. And that's why I have Bianca Belair at number 4 on my list of all time. And you can say, oh my gosh, she's only been in it for so long. But in that short period of time that she's been in it, I could put her career up against anybody who's not on this list and show you where she excels above them. And let's get over some of her career highlights. She was a 2021 Royal Rumble winner. She was a WWE Women's World Champion for 133 days. And then she had two runs as the WWE Women's Champion with a combined 420 days. So that could have been either the Raw or SmackDown title because she was on either one of them. I didn't realize that I didn't separate them. But I mean, Bianca Belair, stellar performance, always makes her opponent look better, and the sky's the limit for her. Like literally, the sky's the limit. She will probably go down as the greatest women's wrestler of all time. And I know people don't like it because she's not from Japan or she's not one of the horsewomen, but suck it up, deal with it. The truth of the matter is nobody's more on their game than her, with the exception of probably Charlotte when she's not injured, which the injury bug is starting to catch up with her. You have your up and comers like Tiffany Stratton. I'm going to be excited to see what Julia in NXT does, Roxanne Perez, but they all strive to be Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair is top notch, and she absolutely deserves to be on this list. So my number 3 best ever top black world heavyweight champion of all time, number 3 goes to Ron Simmons. Now, before everybody gets mad, namely my co-host, oh my God, why is Ron Simmons so low on the list? Let's call it what it is. Ron Simmons made history as becoming the first black WCW world champion, but that was due to injury. I mean, right time, he was in the right place at the right time. But Ron Simmons is another one whose title run was very lackluster. Oh my goodness. Like his title run, he had defenses against oh my God, the Barbarian, and like his title runs were terrible. Like his title run was terrible. He didn't have any marquee feuds until he lost to Vader again. It's like it was just, I don't want to say token. I don't want to say that he was a token champion. He was the right person in the right place, but nothing about his title run said we're 100% putting the gas behind you. Now, everybody could disagree with me because I know you are, but if you're honest with yourself, Ron Simmons, the best thing about Ron Simmons' title run was when he won the title and the crowd erupted and you saw the little kid in the front jumping up and down. That was the peak. That was the pinnacle. That was the pinnacle of his title run. Ron Simmons is a perennial tag team guy, and it's okay to be a perennial tag team guy. But I can't in good conscience put him at the top of my list because when you look at his his title run, it was so lackluster. Like his title run was terrible. Let's look at a couple of his accolades. He was the NWA Florida Heavyweight Champion for 49 days, NWA World Tag Team Champion for 227 days, WCW United States Tag Team Champion for 34 days, WCW World Tag Team Champion 54 days. He had 3 World Tag title runs for 79 days. And then he was the WCW Heavyweight Champion for 150 days. So his 150-day run was just lackluster. Nobody, even the most staunch Ron Simmons fans, and I love Ron Simmons. Okay, let's put it this way. Ron Simmons right now is more over for saying damn than he ever was for winning the title. And that's the painful truth of Ron Simmons' title run. He did make history, which is why I even have him on here. Because if it wasn't for his history making moment, he may not have even made my list. But he did make history. So that does earn him a spot on here. But 3 is the best that he could get on this list. So let's go to my number 2 pick. My number 2 pick for the top black world heavyweight champions of all time in the number 2 spot goes to the final boss himself, The Rock. Now, again, The Rock's career could be broken up as wrestler, entertainer, actor, but nobody electrified more people than The Rock. Nobody, with the exception of Stone Cold in that Attitude Era, put more asses in seats than The Rock. And in a time in the Attitude Era where the championship was being hot potatoed all over the place. Like it was just, I mean, you're champion for 2 days and then you're getting it off. You win the championship at a pay-per-view, they're taking it from you the next night. That was just the time that we were in. But The Rock has basically transcended the industry, being a WWE champion, coming back and putting over. The thing too with The Rock is the people that he made. You know, making putting over Austin at those two WrestleManias. You can't discredit that he put over Austin those two times. He could have easily balked at that. And like, how come this guy gets to win more? You know, the Rock losing to Hogan, The Rock putting Brock Lesnar over at SummerSlam 2002 like a million bucks. It's just tremendous. Then for him to come back after all those years and win the WWE title from CM Punk at Royal Rumble, I want to say in 2013. The Rock has to be there. He has to. His lineage is so great. It would literally be disrespectful to wrestling to not have him on this list. And I have him at my number 2 position. So let's look at a couple of his accolades. The Rock, he was a 2-time Intercontinental Champion for 339 days, 5-time World Tag Team Champion for 24 days. See, this is ridiculous. 5-time champion, and those 5 reigns total 24 days. So like less than 5 days of reign. That's, you see what I'm saying? Like that Attitude Era was, they hot potatoed that title like it was nobody's business. He was the world heavyweight champion for 2 times. That's when they brought the big gold belt to WWE, and he feuded with Booker T for it. He was a 2-time champion, 97 days, and he was an 8-time WWE champion for 367 days. When you think about, you put that in perspective, Roman Reigns just had that belt for 1,300 days. The Rock had 8 reigns for a year. It was a different time, but nevertheless, The Rock is just, I don't want to say he's bigger than pro wrestling, but the Rock's name carries more weight than just being the champion. And that is the reason why he is my number 2, is a top black champion ever. Again, the list isn't there. Unfortunately, there's not a lot to pick from. But when you look at the list of black champions and you start to put them in order, you're like, man, this one did this, this one did this, this one did this. You cannot not have The Rock on this list. That would just be ridiculous. So let's get to my number 1. So again, this is my list. It's very subjective. You guys want to complain about it? Hey, my comment sections are wide open, so you can come talk to me in the comments about it. If I think your conversation if your point is good enough, I may bring you on the show on Wednesdays on Wrestling with Reality, where we can have a deeper conversation about it. But my number 1 black world heavyweight champion of all time. We done went through all of them. We've seen title runs from everybody, but there could only be one. And that man is Mr. 5-time WCW champion, Booker T. Listen, Booker T made it. First of all, Booker T made wrestling cool in the late 90s, early 2000s with the shirts, and they always said he was a Rock ripoff and everything like that. But they were 2 different guys. Like, you see, Rock was like that more coolly rich guy, whereas Booker T was the everyman's, people that look more like me. We looked up to Booker T. Booker T's work rate was so underrated, but Booker T was a tremendous wrestler. Hey, he cut his teeth in wrestling being a tag team wrestler, man. When you look at his story with his brother and getting arrested, and literally being saddled as just a tag team wrestler. And before he won this title for the first time, he literally wrestled as G.I. Bro earlier. And then that's when Vince Russo came out and cut the promo and said that there's only one guy that deserves it, and that's Booker T. And then they had the match with him and Jeff Jarrett at Bash at the Beach, and Booker T ended up being champion. But Booker T has constantly been the staple for black wrestlers. Like when I don't think anybody, if they're okay, when Swerve won that title, and I didn't listen to his post interview, but when Swerve won that title, I bet you Booker T had to be somewhere in the list of people that he thanked as far as who he looked up to as a kid. Like, they weren't saying, oh man, we looked up to such and such. No, they were going directly to Booker T, because Booker T made you believe that it was attainable being the champion, and being the champion for a long time. Is not like Ron Simmons won the belt and it was cool. It was great for a moment, but we knew what that was about. I don't want to say it was a token, but it kind of was a token win. It was a great win nevertheless, but it was a token win. But when Booker T won the title, it said that, hey, we are changing things. We are going into a different direction. When Kofi Kingston won the title, hey, as great as it was, it's one of the few times that I ever cried at a wrestling match. I cried when Kofi Kingston won the title because the story was so great. But Kofi lucked up in there because somebody got hurt. But Booker T was the guy that, when it's like, oh my goodness, I never forget when he won the title and he came out to cut that promo on Nitro, and he had on his Versace shirt and his slacks, and he had the belt. He always just walked with so much class, man. And Booker T is just absolutely the man. And hell, Booker T could go right now. Booker T, I don't know how, he's probably late 50s, but Booker T could go right now. He's not like these other guys that's all broken down. If you want to, Booker T could go right now and get in the ring and give you a hell of a match. Man, Booker T is the man. Booker T made it possible for black kids to be sitting there like, man, if I ever got into wrestling, I could actually be the champion. I could actually be the champion, because for the longest, black kids weren't believing that they could be the champion. They were believing that, hey, maybe I could be the U.S. champion. I could be the IC champion. Like, look at Ahmed Johnson. I could be a tag team champion, definitely television champion. I can't be the world champion. And when you saw Booker T, you was like, hell, he looks like me, and he's a champion. I absolutely could be the champion. It's just like Bianca Belair. When little black girls look at her, they're like, oh my goodness, I could be that. I could be that. She's just so down to earth and everything like that. Booker T, I mean, hands down, if you guys are going to you guys are going to disagree with all my picks, I get it, but no one can disagree with number one, because Booker T is hands down, and I'll wait, hands down the greatest black world heavyweight champion of all time. Because I know people are going to say, oh, you didn't say Mark Henry. Mark Henry's title run was terrible. His run up to the title was great. The Hall of Pain tour was great. But his title run, that is what we're talking about here. His title run was not good. It was marred with injury. I mean, you had the matches with him and Big Show. Like, it was terrible. Cage match with Daniel Bryan. It was not good. I can't put you on the list just because you're black. Your title run had to have meant something. Your title run had to do something and set some type of standard. And Booker T's title run was the absolute best. So let's just look at some of his, man, this guy has so many accolades. I had to cut them all down. He was a TNA King of the Mountain champion. I got to figure out what that King of the Mountain champion is. I don't know what that is. 443 days. TNA World Tag Team Champions for 91 days. WCW United States Champions for 130 days. 11-time WCW World Tag Team Champion, totaling 483 days. See, those high reigns like that, 11 times and stuff like that, when you average that out, that's like 34, 37 days per reign. Just give me one long reign. WCW World Television Champion 6 times for 231 days. World Heavyweight Champion 5 times. 5 reigns totaling 253 days. Now, remember, when he won that title, it was towards the end of WCW. So the reigns, I mean, the time couldn't be long. It was towards the end of WCW, but he still carried that title with dignity. He was a world heavyweight champion in WWF for 126 days, world tag team champions in WWF 3 times, 70 days, WWE intercontinental champion, 34 days, WWE United States champion. He had 3 reigns totaling 143 days. Booker T, and a lot of the stuff I took off. Booker T, legendary status, #1 black heavyweight champion of all time. I want somebody to dispute me down in the comments. I will bring you on the show Wednesday if you're going to show me somebody that's better, that you could line up and they have a better resume than any of these people that I just put on here. I'll wait, because you can't. And I know my co-host is going to be going crazy about why I had Ron Simmons so low. But the truth of the matter is, Ron Simmons' title run was a complete token title run, and it was trash. It was absolute trash, not taken away from the historical nature of it, but it was trash. Those are my top 5 best black world heavyweight champions of all time. Peace!